Brock Lesnar's time up to 2014 wasn't entirely underwhelming, but it was clear that there had to be more effort made into establishing Brock Lesnar as the final boss of WWE. By the end of the year, they finally accomplished that. Lesnar was treated as the ultimate superstar and had the title on his shoulder. It was tough to watch Raw at the time without the champion, but it was undeniable that Brock Lesnar had the star element that nobody barring John Cena had at the time. He ended up losing the title in a triple threat match at WrestleMania 31, but he was vengeful and he was looking to receive his title shot. On the March 30, 2015 episode of Raw, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman kicked off the show in an effort to get a title rematch immediately. His demeanor was very on edge to the point where anything could have happened. Heyman started going off about the events of last night, and with your eyes closed, it's like Brock retained the title. Suplex City chants intensified, and that crowd was eating up anything involving Brock Lesnar. The beatings Reigns took and the resiliency he showed had gained some respect from the Beast, but then Seth Rollins had to cash in Money in the Bank and score the pinfall on the challenger, not the champion. Heyman spoke about how he has a right to file an injunction and hold up the title for the next couple of months, but because Brock hates lawyers, he doesn't want to do that. Instead, Brock Lesnar wanted to invoke his rematch clause for tonight. Both were ready for the fight, but the moment they heard Stephanie McMahon's music, they lost all hope. She spoke about the main event and had plenty of praise for Brock Lesnar. Stephanie told Lesnar that Seth Rollins wasn't here. He's on an airplane en route to the arena and had plenty of confidence that the new champion will accept the challenge. Heyman went into great detail about how Lesnar's first Raw match in a decade is going to end with him as champion once again. Upon Rollins' arrival, the Beast was ready to feast upon him and return his title, but there was a little issue. Now, did Rollins have a problem with this match? No, at least on the surface. Sacramento was finally going to have a good thing until Rollins grabbed the mic and said that he feels jet lag. Despite this, he was going to give him his rematch, just not tonight, and that's all Brock needed to hear because he started throwing people around, tearing up announce tables, and even grabbed Michael Cole. He F5'd him out of his shoes, and that crowd was all in. They were loving what they were seeing with Brock Lesnar tearing up the place, destroying everybody in sight. He even grabbed the cameraman, and Stephanie McMahon had enough telling him he'll get his rematch. Did he listen? Well, is Brock Lesnar a full-timer? There's your answer. So he got suspended indefinitely. This segment showed how special Brock Lesnar is, the way he causes chaos, the destruction left behind, and it also set up a potential face run. He F5'd the cameraman once again and disappeared. There's a realness as to how he conducts business, and you give this segment to another big guy and it won't work as well. I don't know, there's just something special about him. Stephanie had made a point to tell everyone that she owns the SOB, which is ironic since the events that followed clearly contradict her attitude. On the June 15, 2015 episode of Raw, Seth Rollins' challenger for the title was set to be announced by the Authority. They listed a bunch of people that won't be the challenger, and Seth Rollins was over the moon. In his eyes, it was a 76 overall current jerker. To them, it was all about proving whether or not Seth Rollins is that damn good, and they had to test him under pressure. And the moment he heard Brock's music, it was like he was about to collapse. Paul Heyman had to put in a lot of work to get Brock reinstated, not to mention get him a title match. Rollins didn't even have enough confidence to look his next challenger in the eye and knew what was to come. Brock Lesnar, though, had to deal with something to finally get the title shot. He had to apologize to Michael Cole and JBL. For a title shot, no problem, but he did it his way. This could only be done with a part-timer boost. If you're anybody else, you're gonna have some problems. With everything all cleared up, Paul Heyman spoke about how Seth Rollins has been protected from day one. NXT champion, who helped him get it? The game. His brothers of the Shield were with him. He stole the title all to put his name on that list. He didn't care how he did it. As disgraceful as it was to cash in the Money in the Bank, as long as he was champion, that's all that mattered. Heyman said that he's going to take a trip to Suplex City, courtesy of Brock Lesnar. As for the champion, he had a lot of problems with his own guys, and it was happening at the worst possible time because Brock Lesnar was breathing down his neck. This wasn't going the way Rollins had hoped for, and to top it all off, Brock Lesnar was here. They walked down on him the moment he needed the most, and Rollins' ride was about to take a detour to Suplex City. All that talk about being unafraid of Brock was going to be put to the test. Nope, even then they failed. Seth Rollins was face-to-face with the Beast, and the challenger was mostly unchallenged here. They tried isolating Brock, but it took a lot of work. Kane and Rollins had to go after his leg to finally take down the Beast, and the champion was finally feeling confident after dropping him with the Authority reassembled. High confidence from Rollins, feeling like he burned Suplex City to the ground. He gifted the Authority Apple Watches and even a Cadillac. J&J Security were having far too much fun, but their worth was about to be put to the test as Brock Lesnar returned the following week. Fresh off his trip to Japan, where he obliterated the New Day in less than 10 minutes, Rollins was doing the most trying to get Lesnar's attention, calling him Paul Heyman's bitch. They had the weapons, the numbers advantage, but was this a problem for Brock Lesnar? No. He brought out some axes, but opted to use it for something else. The caddy. He went to work on that vehicle, and once J&J tried to do something about it, he broke Jamie Nomo's arm and dropped Joey Mercury with a belly-to-belly. Rollins quickly made a run for him. This was one hell of a segment. It really stands out because, again, it showed what Brock Lesnar was all about. This is what he was all about. He was causing chaos, destroying vehicles. This is Brock Lesnar. He was in a very positive mood heading into Battleground, as was Paul Heyman. He spoke about their shortcomings at WrestleMania and the thief Seth Rollins taking what should be his. The champion was finally taking Lesnar seriously. He had enough of Lesnar being a coward and taking out his aggression on an inanimate object. He's everything that's right with WWE, whereas Brock is a thug, a criminal, a vandal. Seth Rollins promised to burn Suplex City down to the ground, and this is one thing to mention, he wasn't using that catchphrase officially. He would start using it 2 years later. Lesnar said that he could take him to Suplex City tonight and called him a bitch. Kane revealed that a contract signing was going to take place later tonight, and he was eager to defuse the situation before it escalated because the match is best for business. Heyman belittled him, calling him Undertaker's baby brother, and took his claims as a sign of threat. And threatening Brock Lesnar is the worst possible thing you could do. Heyman made mention of the contract signing situation and said that Lesnar will come with peace, love, and understanding in his heart, unless Rollins breaks the 11th commandment. Those shall not provoke Brock Lesnar. Later that night, Rollins had a very confident promo about retaining the title and was confident that it would happen. Once the contract signing took place, Brock was very insistent on giving Rollins an advantage. All that just to flip the table in his face and send him on a trip to Suplex City. Kane put a stop to this, and similar to 3 weeks earlier, it seemed like they had taken him out again. This man had a burst of momentum and sent Kane to hell. Rollins made a run first, so Brock decided to take out Kane. The champion came back and went insane. He threw a fit and showed great confidence, saying he will prove that Lesnar isn't a machine. Was he right? No. The man was stuck in Suplex City, and because of how credible Brock was during this time period, they couldn't really convince you that this chicken heel even had a chance, let alone beat him. It was a one-sided dismantling of Seth Rollins. It showed that nobody was on Lesnar's level in WWE, and if they were on his level, they were part-timers. Then The Undertaker returned. This caught Brock Lesnar absolutely off guard, and even when he took control of the situation, The Undertaker low-blowed him. It was one of the most random things I've ever seen. Not the return, but the low blow. Brock broke Undertaker to the point where this man actually started using low blows. The Undertaker dropped him with the Tombstone Pile Driver twice to start the program to SummerSlam. Okay, that was crazy. With Seth Rollins as champion, you couldn't really book him to beat Brock Lesnar, and it just wouldn't be believable, not to mention Brock himself probably wouldn't lose to him. So that's what happened here. Lesnar's incredible achievement of ending the streak came at a costly price. There was clearly some context to Undertaker's actions by the man himself. He came out the next night on Raw to talk about it. He was clearly doing this for revenge. Undertaker acknowledged that streaks are made to be broken and it hurt him, but he still admitted it. That's not the problem. It was the fact that Lesnar constantly came out to remind everyone of his greatest accomplishment. He turned ashes into a raging inferno by doing that. Last night was his resurrection. Brock can't kill what won't die. Regardless of Brock's status, he's gonna rest in peace. Lesnar accepted the challenge, however, Triple H and Stephanie weren't too fond of a potential appearance from the Beast. Heyman assured them that he just wanted to tell everyone what Lesnar thinks. The trust wasn't there, so the Raw roster was informed to be on alert. Heyman went out there and portrayed Brock Lesnar as a superhero that will avenge the dead man. Undertaker had to sell his soul to the devil, but even then his ass belongs to Brock Lesnar, and there he was. Lesnar quickly ran into the ring and a wild brawl ensues between the two. Triple H brought out the reinforcements, but that wasn't enough. This brawl's far too chaotic for the roster to stop. Police had to come in, a commercial break happened, and that wasn't even it. It took a lot to separate these two men, and man, it was one hell of a brawl. One of the most memorable brawls I could remember in recent years. The fact that they went out there, fought, these lower card guys were trying to separate them, it wasn't enough. Then after the commercial break, they're still fighting in the back, it was crazy. With the match set for SummerSlam, Heyman showed zero fear in bringing up the past, and how Taker crumbles and fights with Lesnar. He hyped up this match as the rematch of the century. Why? Because Brock will stamp the repeat of Eat, Sleep, Conquer, and Repeat. He promised The Undertaker that he was going to Suplex City and said that last time he needed an ambulance, a hospital, a year to recover. Heyman was going insane here. It was like, oh, no, Brock Lesnar, no. You guys know how Heyman promotes the shows, the pay-per-views. On the final Raw before SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar had a homecoming in Minneapolis. The celebration didn't go on as planned because the lights went out. Undertaker didn't show up and Lesnar was smiling. The Advocate went back to talking like nothing happened and said that Undertaker never beat Brock Lesnar. At SummerSlam, it's the same old story. Why? Because The Undertaker fears Brock Lesnar. He may have a tombstone with Lesnar's name written, but he's not facing a man, he's facing a beast. The beast that put the 1 and 22 in 1. Brock Lesnar offers you no resurrection, no retribution. He offers you the realization of, and the lights go up. Undertaker shows up, respawns, and again hits a low blow, a choke slam, and a tombstone. Decent build. You can't do much with this version of Undertaker to go out there and talk weekly about what he's gonna do. They decide to have them brawl and kick each other's asses because that's what makes the most sense. Number one, you have Undertaker on one side. On the other, it's Brock Lesnar. Neither really talk a lot. So this is all you gotta do. You gotta get them to beat up each other, destroy each other, heading into SummerSlam. You don't want to overexpose them, but you want to give the fans a little taste of what's to come. Because this feud was pretty good in 2002, and some people probably didn't realize how good they had it to have this feud in 2015. Even though they were older, there was some doubt over Undertaker's status and performances. You know, like, Undertaker just wasn't the same after 2013. Now, about the match at SummerSlam, it was good. The Undertaker showed a lot of intensity early on, but as Lesnar set into the match, he started wearing him down with suplexes, and as tough as The Undertaker was, he was frail. Lesnar was very resilient, as was Taker, but his ribs were broken. He got F5 through the announce table, and Brock told him, quote, "I'll kill you, you son of a bitch." Taker had the experience element. Yes, he was hurt, but he was smarter than Lesnar and dropped him with a choke slam, a tombstone, but it's not enough for the victory. Then Lesnar sat up, laughed, as did Taker, and this was wild. This moment was so bizarre, seeing The Undertaker just randomly laugh with Brock Lesnar. From here, it was all about the big moves. Kimura lock in the corner, last stride, F5 twice from Lesnar, but it wasn't enough. He was in disbelief, but then found himself in Hell's Gate. It was tough, but he countered into the Kimura, and this is when they did one of the weirdest finishes. The ref counted once, and that was enough to ring the bell. At the same time, Undertaker tapped out. It was hidden. It was on Lesnar's knee. Ref couldn't notice. He was booked to not notice it, of course. So Taker took advantage with a low blow after Brock thought he won the match and dropped him and locked in Hell's Gate. And Lesnar was defiant, but he fell short, and The Undertaker was victorious. That was weird. The match itself was good. Undertaker put in a great performance despite being considered finished, but in line with the story, they made him into a desperate old man. The footage of Undertaker tapping, which led to the bell ringing, was shown, and it was funny. Paul Heyman refused to give in to this fraudulent ending and called Brock Lesnar the winner. The Beast wasn't in the mood to waste time on this deplorable officiating and immediately kicked off Raw. Paul Heyman was upset about how Undertaker finally tapping out after 25 years being overshadowed in the history books by him finally beating Brock Lesnar. But he started comparing Undertaker to a kid saying, "Please leave me alone." So basically what it's trying to say is that when The Undertaker tapped out, it basically means he acknowledges Brock Lesnar. He didn't say that exactly, but that was what he was implying. Heyman said that he could talk about this all day. He had enough material for the entirety of Raw. Heyman wasn't here to talk. He was here to see Brock Lesnar fight The Undertaker one more time. Not for WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, Night of Champions. No, tonight. The crowd was absolutely amped up for this one. Heyman had his ways with words. He just knows how to talk. But then Bo Dallas came out. Bo leaving wasn't going to work with Brock here, as Brock believed that Dallas was entitled to a trip to Suplex City. He threw him around repeatedly and then dropped him with the F5, left the ring, beat his ass again, and that's the segment. Brock disappeared for a bit before returning for a clash with the Giant a month later. The Beast was set to go one-on-one with the Big Show at Madison Square Garden. Paul Heyman hyped up the match the only way he can, and as big as the challenge was in front of him, Heyman said Brock will take Big Show to Suplex City. Big Show didn't want people to see this match as a foregone conclusion. He warned Heyman about a future without Brock Lesnar, but all this talk turned out to be nothing. Why? Because this one went the way you expected it to. Big Show hit 3 choke slams in a row, and that wasn't enough. Brock gets in the rhythm and drops him with the Germans and hits the F5 for the win. That's it. It took only 4 minutes, and they tried their hardest to make you believe Big Show would win. The only problem was, it's the Big Show. Then after the match continues where he left off. Shortly afterwards, it was confirmed. The Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar inside Hell in a Cell. Heyman talked about how the match is Undertaker's before mentioning that, like WrestleMania, it was his until he met Brock Lesnar. He spent time plotting for revenge, and the moment he locked eyes with Brock, he showed that he wasn't man enough to get revenge on him. Brock Lesnar wanted to do that. Heyman said that Hell in a Cell will be the last time Brock Lesnar fights The Undertaker. One man will ascend to the top as the winner of this war, the other won't walk at all. In his eyes, it was going to be Brock, and it wasn't a prediction, but a spoiler. Big Show, though, interrupted. He came from a place of positivity and wanted to shake Brock's hand. He ignored him because Big Show's a jobber, so he said, "I hope you lose to The Undertaker again." So Brock kicked his ass, because why not? Ahead of Hell in a Cell, Stone Cold Steve Austin wanted to get involved with the ongoing rivalry between Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. The Undertaker said that hell will look like the gates of heaven after their match. He called out Lesnar, who after hearing Heyman talk, refused to let this opportunity go away. At least initially, because Heyman begged them to back off. The build to the match was pretty simple. They didn't really bring Undertaker out. Neither Lesnar. It was more about Big Show and Brock Lesnar initially, but they just wanted to let their work on the pay-per-view do the talking. They didn't really need to do much here. Everyone knew it was intense. Whatever. They just thought to themselves, you know what? Let's just wait till the pay-per-view. Let them go all out. Let's not even give them a preview, because last time around, The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar inside Hell in a Cell is literally one of the best Hell in a Cell matches of all time. Some people even consider it to be the very best. It was that damn good, and this match had a lot of optimism because their match at SummerSlam was pretty good. So if they could do that in a normal match, what can they do inside Hell in a Cell, the match that they have experience in? Especially The Undertaker, who's had plenty of matches inside that cell. As for Hell in a Cell, this was a bloody one early on. The hype WWE brought for this match was delivered and then some. It felt very out of place for this era of WWE to see these two basically want to destroy each other like this. WWE promoted it as the last match between the two and they pulled out all the stops. Unlike last time, Brock actually felt comfortable in this setting from the beginning. Yes, he struggled, but he was fighting in the cell like he had plenty of previous experience. Taker's resiliency increased tenfold for this one, and whenever Brock was throwing at him, he'd kick out. A level of brutality and violence that hadn't been seen in years. Lesnar even exposed the man and took a choke slam damn it, he sold it like hell, and even a tombstone, but he kicked out. The story went full circle with Lesnar finally low-blowing Undertaker, taking advantage with a brutal F5 to score the victory. Don't underrate this match. It's actually one of the best Hell in a Cell matches from the last 10 years. What makes it so good is without context to the pay-per-view name, you felt like this feud belonged inside the cell. They deserved to end it that way because the animosity was reaching a boiling point and needed a situation to resolve this feud. Brock Lesnar and Undertaker are masters of the ring, and in a situation like Hell in a Cell, they excelled. It brings out the best in them, and Hell in a Cell was an amazing way to close out the feud. It was very bizarre. Undertaker low-blowing Lesnar, pissing him off. Lesnar, more of a babyface technically than the Undertaker. It was weird, but it's nice that they changed things for once. With the Royal Rumble on the horizon, Roman Reigns was champion and had to defend the gold during the match. Brock Lesnar was set to compete in the Rumble, but it didn't work into his demands. He wanted a singles match, but that was denied. The Beast was in a foul mood, and later that night he cleared house. There was plenty of traffic in Suplex City, and Lesnar was feasting. To top it all off, he dropped Roman Reigns to end the show on top. Ahead of the Rumble, Brock Lesnar went face to face with Roman Reigns and Chris Jericho on the highlight reel. Y2J accused Heyman of trying to get Lesnar away from the Rumble as an easy way out. To him, it was because he never lost the title. He's deserving of a real title shot, not the Royal Rumble. Heyman called Brock and Roman a box office draw, and then Jericho started talking about being the final man in there with Lesnar. He was delusional, and this thing wouldn't even happen in 2008, let alone 2016, but Y2J was optimistic about becoming a 7-time champion. Brock Lesnar came out then and there, as did Roman Reigns, and they brawled. Reigns prevailed before the Wyatt family came out and dropped the Beast, and this is where things were starting to look like a potential WrestleMania program between Bray Wyatt and Brock Lesnar. It seemed likely that the Eater of Worlds would face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, and the events of the Royal Rumble only seemed to make it more obvious. Brock Lesnar had a strong concentration on the Wyatt family and was systematically taking them out. He eliminated all three of them, but when Wyatt came out, the numbers overwhelmed him and he was eliminated. Shortly afterwards, a triple threat match was booked for Fastlane. Brock Lesnar, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns, and the winner challenges Triple H for the gold at WrestleMania. Heyman said that Brock Lesnar will imprison both Ambrose and Reigns in Suplex City. F5s to both, and to top it all off, he'll pin them both at the same time before going on to WrestleMania, where he'll conquer the billion-dollar trophy husband to become the champion. The Advocate didn't want anybody to think he's underselling 2/3 of the Shield. That wasn't the case. Dean Ambrose interrupted with a look of joy on his face after hearing Brock Lesnar's unstable. He told the Beast that he ain't crazy nor stupid, but he was begging to go to Suplex City. Why? Because no matter what happens, he's gonna give it his all. He's gonna drag his broken body to WrestleMania and take that title away from Triple H. He just wanted to say it to Lesnar out of respect. The Beast had the last laugh at the end of the night, though, as he dropped Ambrose with the F5. The Lunatic Fringe was in a foul mood ahead of the contract signing for the title match and was eager to get into it with him. The situation was tense, and once Stephanie made them sign the contracts, it allowed for them to do whatever they saw fit. Paul Heyman told Little Brother to ask Big Brother about the difference between a beatdown from the Authority and Brock Lesnar. He verified that claim by striking at a moment's notice and leaving Dean Ambrose laying. He was even ready to drop Triple H. The Lunatic Fringe wasn't the most wise and decided to call out the Beast later that night for a fight. He underestimated the F5 that Brock hit, calling it an F3, and Ambrose said that Suplex City's gone soft and called it a personal problem. After plenty of provoking, Brock Lesnar finally came out. Ambrose quickly brought the fight, but once again learned that Brock Lesnar is an entirely different animal that requires strength, passion, and timing. He dropped him with the F5, but the man still wanted more. Big Brother Roman Reigns came out, and Ambrose took advantage with a low blow to make a run for him. Okay, it was a story-driven program with Ambrose wanting to see what it takes to not only piss off Brock Lesnar, but beat him. Everyone and their mom knew how the match would end at Fastlane, but they did a good job on Dean and Brock's end by giving them a story out of this. The match at the pay-per-view was pretty damn good. Lesnar was of course dominant, that sounds fake, but basically the match was designed around him. When he's around, chaos is caused. Roman had to catch him off guard with a cool ass spear, and they had to hit the Shield powerbomb, and this leads to a one-on-one match, and these two in a disappointing singles match is like Zack Ryder's world title reign. It doesn't exist. Lesnar was a specimen, so once again they dropped him through the announce table. They teased Dean Ambrose to win with a very smooth transition into the Dirty Deeds, but that wasn't to be. Brock did return though and was on the verge of winning the match, but he was unable to combat the steel chair. Reigns took 3 consecutive shots to the back, he looks out, and 8 seconds later he lunges out to Ambrose for the spear. This bastard was booked to be 109 overall or something. It was insane. Fun match. The result was out of question, but the journey getting there was very entertaining. In light of this match, Brock Lesnar attacked Dean Ambrose before Raw. He lashed out on Ambrose because he was out of WrestleMania, and this man was beyond pissed because he needed a new opponent for WrestleMania since he couldn't challenge for the title. So they laid out the challenge, and a wounded Dean Ambrose came out. He got stepped on, but still had the wherewithal to tell him to kiss his ass. Ambrose said that he wanted Lesnar at WrestleMania in a street fight, so he got an F5. Heyman accepted on his behalf, and the match was official. Before that could go down, the Beast incarnate had to deal with the Wyatt family. This match was supposed to happen at WrestleMania originally, and it was pretty close to happening, but fell through right before Fastlane. Rumors circulated of Wyatt interfering in the triple threat match to cost Lesnar the opportunity, and from there they build a program. Wyatt himself spoke about this match in April of 2016, saying, "Me and Brock Lesnar are going to meet, and this is the only way I can put this. Me and Brock Lesnar will meet down the line. It will mean something, and I'm going to give him my soul and my body, and hopefully he doesn't kill me. But if he does, then so be it. That's as much as I can give there. I've been beaten up quite a bit this past year, we all have. It has been a rough year as far as the curse of the injury, but I'm still ticking barely. But I'm still here. I'm still alive. So it become apparent that one of the reasons why Wyatt and Lesnar never happened was because of the back injury. Also, I'm sure Bray's still waiting for the match to this very day. The match didn't even involve him that much. It was Harper who was doing the work. Lesnar dismantled him, and it was clear that these two were going to cross paths again. The rumors at the time had you believing this match would happen after WrestleMania, but that didn't happen. Back to Ambrose. The lunatic fringe had his hands on WWE's most valuable prize, but came up short in the end. Brock Lesnar didn't waste time in forcing Ambrose to get his attention, and Heyman revealed that there was an order of protection on Dean Ambrose. It was for his sake, because you guys know Lesnar. Ambrose didn't care about this and told Heyman to let him off his leash. The Advocate tried to explain why Lesnar shouldn't be provoked, but Ambrose wasn't listening. They didn't budge because WrestleMania is on April 3rd, but Lesnar's temper was getting the best of him. He teased it, but walked away. Ambrose in the lead up to WrestleMania was getting weapons from hardcore icons such as Mick Foley and Terry Funk, and they were really building it up to be his big moment. Ambrose and Lesnar interacted on SmackDown with Lesnar getting the best of the lunatic fringe, and Paul Heyman did have praise for Ambrose, saying that usually others know their place when it comes to Brock Lesnar. He doesn't, and it's almost delusional. An NCAA and UFC champion being put out of his place in a match with weapons? Wouldn't that benefit him more? Dean Ambrose had enough of the talk and brought out a wagon and filled it up with weapons. The build was really trying to get you behind Dean Ambrose in the sense of, hey, this man is going to have a special moment at WrestleMania. It really felt like it. He was taking beatings, yet every single time he would return. Even if it meant the beating was worse. It felt like Dean Ambrose's story more so than Brock's. But when the bell rang, it was so disappointing. And this stems from how WWE built it. Yes, Ambrose took a beating. We all knew that, but the way the match went, it contradicted the story. The match was never gonna be in line with the story itself. Brock Lesnar didn't really go above and beyond, even if it's WrestleMania, not to mention risk injury for his UFC return in July. Another thing is, they showed chainsaws and barbed wire, but they didn't really get used. They weren't gonna get used because WWE's PG, and so basically they built false expectations for this match and didn't follow up. So when that happened, it turned out to be one of the most disappointing matches in recent history. I remember watching it, and the moment Brock Lesnar won, it felt like the intention that WWE had made for the match was unfulfilled. Not because Lesnar won. Lesnar was going to win this thing, but the way they treated Ambrose here, I really think he should have gotten a bit more in, and Ambrose himself should have known better to expect some big spots involving chainsaws and barbed wire, especially in a match at WrestleMania and against Brock Lesnar. But yeah, it was disappointing. So I was going to continue this video until the Randy Orton arc at SummerSlam, but I decided, you know what? I'm going to make a Randy Orton video in the near future. You know, it's about his year at the time, his years, 2015 and 17. I'm going to dive into him. So I decided to leave it for that video. So yeah. Overall, Brock Lesnar was a special attraction during this run. He was very exciting to watch. The only disappointment, of course, is the Dean Ambrose match. It was a shame. It was unfortunate. Other than that, he had a lot of great matches with the likes of Roman Reigns, Undertaker. He was booked very strong. There's no doubt about it. He was literally the strongest booked wrestler in WWE, and nobody was going to take that claim. Nobody was going to take that honor away for a while. All right, what do you guys think of Brock Lesnar in 2015-16? Please comment down below, and that's the first video. Make sure you hit the F5 on the like button, and perhaps the more on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.